Hey guys, welcome back to Alpilar Orchids. It finally bloomed and is starting to twirl up and curl and, look a little bit more mature.
Okay.
So, in fairness, this may actually be Paphiopedilum gratrixianum variation Christiansonianum, not true Paphiopedilum gratrixianum. The tag on this plant, sorry it's dirty, I didn't clean it. Paphiopedilum gratrixianum, that's all it's labeled, which was discovered apparently around 1897 or something by this guy Wilhelm Michelitz. And so he was a German orchid collector around the end of the 1800s into the early 1900s, and discovered this orchid and sent it back from Laos, although it's found around like China and Laos and I believe Vietnam. And he was working with Xander and the orchid importer, I believe from Britain. And they still have an active website, I'm pretty sure. I believe it's the same family. I could be wrong. However, please comment if you have input on all of that exact correlation. But you can read on Xander current website, there are historical letters between Wilhelm Michelitz and Xander. There are a lot of interesting letters there, quite a few over many years. But this plant currently is named after Gratrix, Mr. Gratrix, Gratrix family. And they were British industrialists and orchid collectors. But what I kind of find interesting about the whole story is a lot of the current names, if you look into a lot of species names, you see Micholtzii up here, which I believe is after Wilhelm Michelitz, and Xander, Sanderianum, you see kind of pop up, so interesting species correlation with some of the older orchid importers and collectors. And you can really get a feel for what they were doing back then, how many crates of plants they were exporting and how many plants they were exporting. And, one of the letters was like a close receipt, which, I don't know, that's kind of interesting. So back to the particular plant now. I'm very happy with this one. The flowers are glossy. So if you're kind of new to the orchid world or you're just kind of learning about the differences in this stuff, the glossy flowers look waxy, and as you can see, they reflect a lot of light. Papery flowers are more like a matte finish, if you will. Like, to use a paint analogy, like a matte finish paint would be like a papery kind of flower. They don't reflect light. They're a lighter substance on the flower, but these are waxy flowers, heavy substance, and what's cool about these that we really like as well is, of course, the coloration, but they have a very nice division. So I'm really kind of attracted to this nice division between the coloration on the sepals. I brought the little chopstick, extendable chopstick, to point out what I really like is that the pouch here, the modified lip, it kind of nicely frames the column with these like horns that stick up, which is pretty cool. And also the coloration on the sepals is really different between the top, and it's very marked along the midline. I will say this is probably the nicest Paphiopedilum bloom we've had as far as symmetry and pigmentation, and I love the nice heavy bold spots up on the hood here and the pink flaring. If you look them up, of course, there's a lot of variation exactly in this species, but the pouch on this is pink in some lights and orangish in other lights. So I guess depending on which flower pictures you look at, maybe they're all kind of the same. They're just taken in different colored lights. I don't know. But the column has a really nice flat face right there. It's really flat. The pollinia behind are kind of sticking out. So, and it has this weird yellow like tongue sticking out from the middle of the column face, which is pretty cool. A quick discussion about how we grow this plant in semi-hydro. It's grown in mostly full leca, so I'll move the plant up to the camera. Mostly full leca with some decomposed granite, I guess, little pellets that are heavier. They're thrown in there as well on this one, and it does have a fairly large hole, only one on this particular pot, one fairly large hole. And the reservoir is generally full. Kind of emptied a little bit. And so we water it. I try to flush it at least once a week. Just hold it under the sink, do a complete flush, and leave the reservoir full at the bottom. So about that much water in the bottom of the plant. And then, yeah, try to do that at least once a week, sometimes twice in the summer if I'm feeling ambitious. Fertilize every couple of weeks when we fertilize the rest of our Paphiopedilums. Yeah. And definitely after fertilizing, I try to rinse them out really good, like 2 days later. I try to give it a really good flush after fertilizing because I don't like to leave a lot of salts, which we have found can be difficult sometimes to control with semi-hydroponics with salt buildup. But generally these do great. They're growing in the winter now. It's January, end of January. They're coming on with some nice new growths, and of course it's in flower. And of course with Paphiopedilums, and you know, everybody can grow these. I think they're fairly easy to grow in like a home environment. But with Paphiopedilums, it's not a worry if one of the leaves kind of turns yellow. This one is on an older fan that's just already bloomed, and that fan is dying. And so I could remove the tag. That bloom is dying. And so, yeah, that's okay that is yellowing and falling off. I try to let them go until they fall off naturally. But I've read online that if you cut the leaves and you try to remove the dried sheaths after, that it reduces, you know, water getting trapped in there and kind of leading to rotting and stuff like that. So I do try to keep them clean. And also because I can get snobbish about my plants and like I really want them to look nice and I don't want like dead brown yellow leaves. But I thought it was important to leave it to show you that we do leave them. And it's totally okay and normal as long as it's on an old fan. And even on the new fans as they grow, they will, of course, like Phalaenopsis orchids and others, they will drop the older leaves as the fan grows. This is a clumping orchid, clumping Paphiopedilum. So it doesn't have a rhizome that crawls under the media. It just grows from dormant nodes on the base of the older fans. And it is in the main room about 3 or 4 meters from a south-facing window. And we make sure to try to keep it out of direct sunlight, but it's right on it's as close as we can get it to the window without it going through the sunlight, you know, as it traces across the room. We don't have any shades or anything on our window, so it's full direct south light in a big window. But it's, yeah, like I said, 4 meters or so. You can see that, again, it's late January, so it's in bloom now. This plant came to us in really nice condition about maybe a year We got a little over a year ago, I guess now, and it's been potted in semi-hydroponics for approximately 10 months. And it took about 3 months for the spike to grow, so that's kind of some of the timelines on how the plant seems to grow. It did produce really nice, it has two more fans that are maturing, and it would be nice if they bloomed at the same time. That would be cool to have two flowers at once, because it's a monofoliate. It only grows one flower at a time. Yeah, all in all, we just really love this flower. It's an easy grower for us in our conditions. I think anybody could grow it at home. Not that you have to grow it in semi-hydroponics. You could grow this in regular bark. It just would be different watering and, different care. But we do grow a couple of our Paphiopedilums in semi-hydroponics. So, quick sneak peek. Philippinenza alba. Philippinenza alba, also a Paphiopedilum, but grown in bark right now. We're probably going to transition it over to semi-hydroponics as soon as it blooms. Shameless plug over. Yeah, so if you like what we're doing here, please check in, subscribe, and also send us your orchids in bloom, and we will feature them at the end of upcoming future videos. So thanks, guys. Hope you have a great one, and we will see you back here again at El Pilar soon.